for these guys, it's kind of Christmas in advance, so they can work with the Bohdana in this direction. And well, it's going to be obviously a different, very different kind of Christmas for the Russians. Hello everyone, we're on our way to meet the guys from the 45th Artillery Brigade in the Donetsk Oblast. They agreed to show us the Ukrainian-made Bohdana. So it's made here and it's financed by Denmark. Why it's important? Because now Ukraine might face a shortage of Western weapon and it desperately needs to produce its own weapon. So let's see what can Ukraine do by itself.
It's the muddy season. Everything is slippery, a challenge for soldiers fighting on the front line. Cars quickly get stuck and running in the mud is tough. Before checking the Bohdana in action, Winter, the unit's commander, takes us to tour the shell stash. The Bohdana is Ukraine's first locally made howitzer, able to launch NATO standard 155mm shells.
You can't smoke there, you can smoke here. A dummy won't detonate from a cigarette. Here we have M107 and cluster munitions. We often use cluster munitions, but also mines. It depends on the situation, when we hit equipment or positions. Near Donetsk, there was a Russian infantry in a house. So first we used small arms, then we hit them with a landmine.
Ukraine's use of cluster munitions raised eyebrows in the West. For Winter, it's fair play.
In 2022, when we didn't have any cluster munitions at all, the enemy used shrapnel and phosphorus against us. They don't pull punches, and we need to defend ourselves somehow.
The team has to use the ones they have sparingly and accurately, as Western help threatens to dwindle over Winter. Each shell counts when calculating the crew's chance of survival to see victory.
So some of the guys from the 45th basically came here to unload some new ammo. So for these guys, it's kind of Christmas in advance, so they can work with the Bohdana in this direction. And well, it's going to be obviously a different, very different kind of Christmas for the Russians.
When I was in the Donetsk direction, we fired up to 70 shells daily. We arrived here 4 days ago. We launched 10 to 12 shells per day in general, depending on the tasks.
I know it looks a little weird because those are supposed to have explosives. So no worries, these are empty, so we can safely stand in front of them while they actually throw that into the truck.
Before getting to work, a small break for a hearty meal. Those homemade meals make a difference in the morale of those men, exhausted by years of war.
We're having pasta! We're working 24/7.
How's the mood overall?
How's the mood in general? Combative. Great.
The break is short. The commander received the coordinates of a target spotted by drones. It's time to put the Bohdana at work. Moving the howitzer from its dugout to the shooting spot takes only a few seconds. No need to move it out of the position, especially with this mud. The cannon has a 70-degree rise and a 40-kilometer firing range. The Russians are roughly 10 kilometers from the artillery position. Based on the French Caesar and the Swedish Archer howitzers, the Bohdana's accuracy makes it a deadly threat to the receiving end. A cable hangs at the end of the howitzer. They pull it to launch the shell. Better clear the back of the cannon when the blast hits. The howitzer has two massive bulldozer-like claws behind it to stop the vehicle from moving with the recoil.
FPV drones are reportedly reaching our first battery, sometimes overshooting by 10 kilometers, though EW systems are intercepting them. We haven't seen any here yet, but whenever the crew starts working, the guys raise the curtain and deploy the decoy. Meanwhile, I run the generator. Whether it's a Shahed, Lancet, or whatever, at least it won't hit the crew or the gun.
Obviously, this is war, and well, we don't necessarily have the time to bring the Bohdana to the mechanics, and because we did it on the battlefield. So, you know, Ukrainian fixing, some wood and big nails, but yeah, I guess it works. After weighing if they should destroy it or not to avoid its capture by the Russians, Ukraine's military managed to save the first Bohdana Howitzer prototype from the front back in 2022. Currently, the country produces 20 of these howitzers per month, and they adapt them to the needs of the battlefield.
It all depends on what the infantry needs and our assigned tasks. We can work in the rear and the front, but the fire gets closer at the front. And here, the barrel suffers less.
Winter used to sell car parts when the war started, and he couldn't stand idle, despite his wife's disapproval.
I told my wife I was going to wash the car, but in fact, I registered at an enlistment office.
Soon, black ice will cover the ground, making it even harder to fight and dig trenches, let alone move the Bohdana. It's gonna be another harsh winter for these soldiers, stuck in an endless war.
After 3 years, believing that it will end overnight is an illusion that has long gone. We'll wait and see, and then tell you how the winter went.